Today on Like First Love Grassroots Coach Development, we were joined by Michael Dunwell. He is first team manager at Stockton Town Football Club, which is where I'm based and where these programmes are based. But he also works with our under-12s here at Stockton Town. So he has a really unique insight into working with senior players and junior players. He's been at Stockton Town for over a decade, seeing many promotions. And at the time of having this conversation, Stockton Town were in a promotion hunt. So it was a really good conversation to kind of delve into what Michael's thoughts were around the differences between management and coaching and what he feels has made him such a successful manager working with open age players, but then some real kind of key insights into what he's working with his junior players. Some similarities, some differences, but some key takeaway messages for you guys to work with your players no matter what age or what band you're working in.
Michael, first of all, thanks for coming in.
No problem at all.
So this will be a very different chat to the majority I've had so far, which is something I'm really looking forward to. And I know I spoke to you ages ago when we first started doing this and said, look, I'd like to get you in for a conversation, because I think with yourself, Michael, it'll be a bit of a crossover between the two. Mm-hmm. Obviously working with your son's team that you've had since under 7, so you've been doing them. What's that now? 4 years, 5 years, 5 years.
Now, yeah.
And obviously you're Stockton Town first team manager, which was your first management job.
Yes, I was assistant manager for a couple of years, and then went back to playing, and then went back into management.
Yeah, and you took over Stockton in at step 7, 9 years ago, 10 years ago.
I think it was 2013, 14, I think.
Right. Okay.
So I think I'm in my 11th season. Yeah. Obviously, we had the couple of COVID years. But
yeah, and that's seen 4 promotions.
Yeah, 4, step 7 through to step 3.
Yeah, so this will be a fairly unique conversation and fairly unique vantage point, because let's be honest, not many managers have been with a team for that one that long. No. And 2 had that much success in such a short period of time. And then the grassroots, you know. When we talk grassroots, we've said it with a few, it doesn't just mean the kids. You know, our first, I say I'm at Stockton obviously with yourself, and our first team is a grassroots team, probably just coming out of the grassroots bit now, really, that semi-professional environment.
So, yeah.
But you've experienced the grassroots for a long time, and then the juniors. So really looking forward to the contrast between the two, and obviously played for a long time before that, so you've got that kind of vantage point of the, you know, professional, and then kind of working your way down the non-league ranks as well. So yeah, really looking forward to it. But obviously the first thing we do with anyone that comes in, or the 3 things we do with anyone who comes in, is that kind of key principle for the grassroots coaches watching. So Michael, what's that first principle for people watching?
I think mainly as a coach, whether you're coaching kids at a young age or even adults in the first team, is for me is for them to enjoy it, you know, enjoyment really, and getting people to play with smiles on their faces, because there's nothing worse than a coach or a manager who's so regimental and players. I don't think players really respect that or react to that very well. So in everything, especially with the young kids, you want to make the sessions as enjoyable as possible. They want as many touches of the ball as possible, and everything's got to be high tempo with the kids, you know, and keep them entertained. With the adults, again, it's still got to be enjoyable, the sessions that you put on. There is a couple of things where they are a little bit boring, a bit of shadow and things like that, but the main thing for me is people want to come and play for me or play for my coaches because they enjoy it, you know. That's the main thing for me.
Yeah, and it's a really good message to hear, because obviously when we talk about the juniors, I think everyone instantly says enjoyment. And I think something we've done in the past with the Stockton coaches is talk about the difference between fun and enjoyment at times. I think we can blend the two, and I think fun means something slightly different. And fun just means like, oh, there's no rules and I'm just going to play. Yeah. When actually enjoyment might be difficult, it might be challenging, but I'm still playing with that smile on my face. But I think what's brilliant there is you talking about, well, actually you're working now with step 3 against, you know, you've got Oldham at the weekend, which is, you know, there'll be thousands of people in the ground. Yeah. There's a lot riding on the game. You've done great to get there. You're playing in these big games now, and ultimately you're judged on whether you win or lose, isn't it? That there's no getting away from it. Whereas with the juniors, that's not really a factor.
No.
But you're still saying that enjoyment's a big a big part of the adults. So how much do you think that weighs in with the adult side?
I think a lot. I get this question asked a lot about why have you had success or why has the team been successful? And one of the first things that we try to get the players who come to us is to enjoy the atmosphere in the club, in the dressing room, you know. And I think we've created that atmosphere where people actually want to come and play now, because they speak to players that we've got who've been here a long time, and when we do sign players, they tend to stay because they do enjoy it. And that's not just, like you say, it's not just coming to have fun. It's still being serious, but you want to come somewhere where you're going to be happy and comfortable, and that's why I think we have been successful, because people do come here and they do enjoy the time here.
Yeah, and you know, what I'm trying to do in some of these talks is give some almost specific examples or ways of operating, because yes, a lot of people watching will be just working with like an under 12s, you know, that'll be a lot, and we will touch on that quite heavily, but there'll be people working in the men's game, in the women's game, in the adult game. And so when you say, you know, you're trying to create that environment that is something where they're going to come and enjoy it and they're going to engage and feel that, do you feel there's anything you've done specifically that's kind of cultivated that environment?
I think because I've been in the game a long time, even playing junior football myself, but when I was at Hartlepool for 4 or 5 years, I think you learn a lot from managers and coaches that you're under there. When I was at Hartlepool, I had probably 3 or 4 managers in the 5 years that I was there, and each one was different. And I think you pick up a little bit from each one of what you like and what you don't like, and then when you go into management, you can use that experience. And there was a lot of things in adult football, you know, like, for example, pre-season has totally changed now to what it used to be. It used to be up and down hills and run as much as you can until you're thrown up and things like that, where it's a lot different now. It's a lot more technical. You still got to do that running bit, but again, I still think some people still think that's the way, and it might be the way in how they want to do it, but for me, how I've experienced it, I've known that I didn't personally like it. The majority of the players that didn't like it, so when I go into coaching and management, I want the players to come and not think, oh, we're just going to do that, and I want them to come and know that it's going to be good, the session's going to be good, it's going to be well planned, it's going to be difficult, but it is going to be enjoyable as well. And I think we've created that in the training that we do, and in the dressing room itself as a whole, just how we are. We always try to be bubbly, we always try to be positive in what we do. Yeah, not all the time that works, you know, sometimes they've got to be told, but the majority of the time we try to stay positive even when we lose. And
so kind of sticking with the enjoyment factor then, but moving away from the seniors a little bit, how much do you think there is a crossover in the way that you would do it? So the things you're talking about there of, right, okay, I'm trying to be positive, I'm trying to be bubbly, we try and make it as engaging in different ways as we can. What's the kind of variation then when you go with the 12s? Is it just a more extreme version? Is it, no, I actually change completely, I adapt, or where does that kind of sit?
I think I'm still a little bit the same, but I think you've got to have a different tone with the juniors, because they've got to understand. I think if you had the same tone that you have with the seniors, you probably wouldn't understand what you say. You've got to change your words as well. I think you've got to use different words. For example, I don't know, transition, you know, we'll just use that word. It's not one of my favourite words, but as you know me, people use transition. If I said that to some of the under 12s, they wouldn't understand what I was saying. So you said, when you lose the ball, you've got to, you know, you've got to change that way. But I think with the juniors, for them to enjoy it, obviously everybody enjoys winning games, but they've got to learn the other side of it as well, as losing. But we try to make our sessions fun. We only have them an hour a week, so they don't want to be coming and standing still and just listening to me drone on and on and on. So there is a lot of fun involved, but also learning as well how to play the game, but doing it in a way where they're enjoying it and not just stood still, just listening to me tell them how to play.
Yeah, and you're dead right. And it's the verbiage is a funny one, because I was one of the things I've been doing today is writing the coaching framework for like the ETC stuff, and writing okay, this is the phases of the game that we're gonna utilise and we're gonna work on. and it was I've literally broke it down into where it should be. I should be talking about building the play, pressing the ball, and this and this. I've literally said keep it, win it back, score. That's the wording I've used, because I just thought, well, do you know what? We can get really fancy with all this stuff. I'm working with an 11-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Can you score?
Yeah.
Can you get it back off her?
Yeah.
Can you keep it, or can you run forward?
Yeah.
And they're the three things we're talking about. So that's, but you're working with the step 3 side. Yeah, you're probably gonna have to go into a bit more detail.
Yeah.
If that's all you say, you're probably gonna get side-eyed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think one of the big things talking to yourself, Michael, that I've been interested in kind of delving into is, we're talking to a lot of coaches on these conversations, and you're a coach. I've seen you coach your first team. I've seen you coach your juniors. But if someone says to me, what's Michael Dunwell? I say he's a manager. I don't really say coach first and foremost. I think you can do it, but I think you're a manager and you have a coaching team. What do you think the kind of difference between the two roles is? And you know, is that, do you feel you're more suited to management, and what are the kind of key components there? There's a couple of questions in one, but what do you think the
Yeah, I think I am more suited to management than coaching. I do enjoy the coaching side every now and then. But obviously I have a team of coaches as well who I rely on heavily. Obviously we all have ideas, and I expect them to come with ideas, and we'll have a discussion on how to do that. But for me, I think the managing side, I like, it's totally different to coaching. I mean, especially now, at the level we're playing at, I think there's so much more involvement that you have to do outside of the coaching side, outside of match days. For example, things like this, or your interviews with radios, interviews with newspapers, meetings with chairman, committee, you know, discussing transfer targets, having your conversations with the players after training, during the week, you know, before games. And the coaching side, like I say, I do enjoy that, and I do have a lot of input in that, but I really leave that to my coaches to do that, and I like to stand back, and then if something is, I don't disagree with that, then I'll step in. And I think that's the side of a manager, that's why you are a manager, to be able to do that, to be able to step in and have coaches around you who don't feel like you're stepping on their toes either when you do that. But I think, like you say, I think management is completely different to coaching, because I think when you're coaching, I don't think you have the pressure of being a manager, because if you lose a game, really, for me, I think they do look at the players, but predominantly it comes down to the manager who gets
of course it is.
And you hear that all the time in the media, you know. You've just got to look at Man United's managers who they've had, even though they've had the same players there probably about 4 or 5 years, it's the manager who gets the ball every single time.
yeah, and it's but you're dead right in that, you know, obviously I'm a coach. There's no getting away from it. I'm not a manager. It was interesting early on in my coaching career, probably got to 22, 23, 24. I thought, oh yeah, I'll go be a manager. And that faded out of my head very, very quickly when I realised what it entailed, because it's the enormity of it.
Yeah, and you've got to make tough decisions. I think if you're a coach, I think, and I don't think John will mind me saying this, he said I just couldn't be a manager.
Yeah, he says the same to me regularly.
He says I just couldn't make them decisions or have them conversations. And sometimes you've got to be blunt with players, but what I try to be is as honest as I can. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong, and the proof's in the pudding on the pitch, you know, with your decisions that you make, and you've got to be, I think you've got to stand by your decisions. But then also sometimes hold your hands up and say, I did get that wrong, and I think that's the best part of being a manager as well.
So what do you think? And so for people watching who kind of might be going through that thought process, probably a little bit like I did, where I was, you know, I like to think I'm a pretty decent coach and qualified and blah blah blah, but I was having probably delusions of grandeur, if I'm honest, thinking I could do that. Yeah. But it doesn't match my character type. It's not me. I don't have that skill set. So what is it you think for those people watching who are going through a similar process? What is the skill set, and so for you as a successful manager, or someone who will want to improve as a manager, because I know your personality type, you'll want to get better, and you will get better the longer you're in it and experience. What is it, the kind of traits that you see that a good manager would probably need versus what a good coach might need?
I think, for one, you've got to be confident in your own decision making as well. I think you've still got to listen to I have good assistants, good coaches, and you've got to listen to them, but you've got to be able to make that final decision, be confident in that decision. I think you've got to learn to block out a lot of negativity that does come with management nowadays. I don't think it used to, but I think with social media nowadays, there's a lot of negativity, and I think you can get bogged down by that, and I have done myself in the past when I first started, probably I think 4 or 5 years ago. I think I probably got to the point where I was ready to walk away, just because of that, because I think managing your own tie, only live 3 minutes walk away, and probably kick a ball to the ground from my garden. Living that close to where I manage, and the supporters are in the vicinity, and wherever if you have a bad result, that you get affected by it. If I manage somebody away, like for example Whitby or something, I probably wouldn't see any fans.
Yeah.
So I think that is a little bit more difficult, but again, it's learning to block that out, and it does get easier the longer you're in it, and it's a very small minority and it's normally the same people who do it, which is frustrating. But I think you've got to be strong. You've got to have broad shoulders. But again, just believe in yourself and believe in your decisions that you make, because they're your decisions at the end of the day, and you've got to think that they're the right decisions.
Yeah, and I think I see it affecting multiple people at the club that have probably gone on that journey with you a little bit, and conversations we have around the place. And I think that's certainly a massive element of, right, okay, yeah, I'm making this decision, I'm going with it. And that's where it's probably that different to coaching. Someone who does that thing of, it's really easy for me to throw a comment in. Yeah. Well, I think we should do this, this and this. I think you've mentioned it already. See if that doesn't go right. No one's looking at me. Yeah. No one's talking to the coach. Now, look, I still feel pressure in that coaching environment, because obviously I want the right outcome. But I know if I'm working with a manager, they will feel the pressure a lot more than me, because ultimately that's where it lies. And if they're listening to me as a coach, and as the coach is listening, the coaches need to understand that. Yeah. And that was a big learning curve for me as well, of, right, I need to know that I feel pressure, I feel the right thing. I don't feel it can't be the same as the manager, because ultimately I can't feel it the same if the rewards aren't the same. Yeah. But also the negativity and the pitfalls aren't the same. Yeah, and I think you've got to understand the players as well. You've got to and read body language well. I think you learn that as the more you're in it. Like if you're coaching, sometimes you can miss somebody, but if you stand back and you can analyse the session, but you can also analyse the players, because not everybody sees what goes on in players' everyday life. A lot of people just turn and watch the games, and the base why players should be playing based on just that game or the previous game, not how they've been in training, not what's gone on in their personal life or what's affected them during the week or months, And a lot of that you've got to take into perspective of how they are mentally now, because sometimes the best player, you might leave him out, but nobody knows why you've left him out, but we know why we've left him out, and it could be something not related to football, and that's sometimes difficult to get across to people, that why some decisions are made. And I think people think that you've got to explain every decision that you make, and it's difficult. It's not a full time. You're not at a press conference every day, and it is difficult. And we would like to explain all our decisions, but it is difficult to do that. But I think as a manager, again, going back, you've got to understand how the players are and what type of moods they're in as well. Yeah. And I think linking that in, and what we'll probably do throughout the conversation, is bounce between men's game, kids' game, and the two, because there's clearly links and clearly differences. Definitely in that as well. I think, when you're talking about, because let's be honest, the coach and the manager is probably the same thing at junior level. It's usually the same guy, isn't it? Or the same parent, 9 times out of 10. Is, well, what, that reading body language, that side of things, is that easier, do you think, with the kids, or is that a little bit harder, or how do you think it kind of differs between the two games? I think it's probably about the same, to be honest, if I'm honest. Yeah. I think you can tell when a kid's probably had a bad day at school and he's tired and he's snappy and things like that. And I think it's the same with
adult football when he's had a bad day at work, or he's had an argument before he's come out, or something's gone out. You know, I think it's very similar. You know, I think kids they go to school, and even when it gets nice, like it's dark like this, and they come and they're tired and they're a bit grouchy. My son does it regularly, you know. And then they're a little bit hard on themselves, and you've got to try and G them up, you know. And that's the same with the adults. You know, you've got to try and get them to snap out of it. So I think it's very similar, really.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, nights like tonight. I mean, if you've been on the pitch,
I was
on the pitch tonight, so you've had the 12s tonight. I mean, I was out there before I came in here, and it was just torrential.
Yeah,
it was utterly torrential. I was absolutely soaked before I came in, and you think, right, okay, not just am I trying to read the players' body language, because I think probably more so with the juniors and the adults that they'll just mirror.
Yeah.
The adults are too involved in their own thing.
Yeah.
Of, you know, if you come in a foul mood with the adults,
Yeah.
it will be noticed and it will have an impact.
Yeah.
But if you come in a foul mood with the kids are in a foul mood.
Yeah,
they're just
straight
going to mirror.
Yeah,
so
totally
it's not just reading their body language.
Yeah.
It's sometimes faking your own.
Yeah.
I did not want to be out there tonight. There was no version of events. But you've got to adapt.
Yeah,
you've
that's
got to change.
one thing I do try and do with the kids is always be quite jovial and buoyant with them, and quite loud with them. So they seem to bounce off that, and it seems to 9 times out of 10 it goes well with the kids, whether it's raining or it's freezing. They're quite a good bunch as well that I've got.
Yeah, they're a good group. How much do you think that? Do you have that same thought process with the adults? Do you think about your mood and your status and your stature?
Yeah, I think there's been the odd time, I think, when players have read how I am, and they'll know probably not to try, because they do try to they have the jokes and things like that, and I think they know when to pick that time, when to do it and when to not with me now. A lot of them have been with me a long time. So, yeah, I think the adults can read my body language. But like you say, with the juniors, I don't think you can go into a session with the juniors and you've got to just shut off and change your mood straight away. Yeah. Otherwise, like you say, the session could go downhill quite quickly.
Is that something you're cognizant of with the adults though? As in, you know, are you aware? So if you're coming and you've had because look, you have a day job, you were going to go through those same things. Yeah. Are you aware? So again, people watching who are wanting to get into management, someone who's been successful at it at these levels, is it a thought process you have of, right, on the way here, are you thinking, right, I know I've had a bad day, I know I'm short-tempered, I know I'm this, I need to, do you go through it? And sometimes is it the other way of, do you know what, I've had a great day, I don't want to come in too bouncy because this is a team that we should be beating, and if I come in looking like this, the players are going to think it's too easy. Do you go through that own mental battle, or?
I think I do sometimes, yeah. There has been times where I have come in and maybe not had a bad day at work, but maybe something just happened, and maybe had a conversation with, I don't know, a player, or something hasn't gone right from the weekend, and something's playing on your mind, and I'll be honest, I've probably took that out sometimes onto the training pitch, and then you've got to quickly snap out of it, you know. But being jovial with the players, I don't think that's a bad thing, you know. And I think it's a good thing, and it relaxes the players as well, because I think they're thinking, it's going to be good tonight, you know. He's in a good mood, or the coaches are in a good mood, and 9 times out of 10 it's an enjoyable session when you are like that. So we try to be more happy than
By the way, they're only I've seen I've seen 1 or 2 sessions where that's not
I have
which, by the way, 100%
sometimes you do have to step in,
of course you do. But yeah, so look, that kind of links back into that first point of making it fun, engaging, and that side of things. I was just trying to move the conversation on a little bit, because otherwise I'll bounce all over the map. That kind of second key principle for the grassroots coaches, managers, what's your kind of second thought?
I think grassroots and kids especially is trying not to overcoach. I think I've watched some sessions where you see the kids 7, 8, 9, you know, year old stood around for long periods of time, or stood not touching the ball for long periods, and especially with the juniors, we try to do a drill, or we do small-sided games, and we try to let them play, and then every now and then, if something's continuing repetitive, if players are doing the same thing and you see the same pattern happen over and over again, you then go and step in. But what I like to do as well, even with the adult, is what do you think? You know, try to get them to get the answer to what you're going to do first, but not spend too much time on it, because I think if you give them too much information, they end up just losing what the purpose of the session is. But not to give them too much information, especially the juniors. But even with the adults as well, not have them standing around for long. There is times where you have, I mean, in non-league it is difficult because you only have them twice a week. Not a large area on a Monday, as you know, with about sometimes 22, 23 players if we've got the 18s. But then on a Wednesday, for the hour and a half, hour and 3/4 that we have them, that's when we've got to focus on the game on Saturday. So we prepare for the team we're playing against, but again, not overcoach or not go into too much detail. I think we go into more detail on a Saturday with the reports we have when we're talking to players separately, but when on the Wednesday it's more like, what can we do to beat the team? You know, and work mainly on us and what we're good at. And be a bit repetitive in that as well. But for the grassroots with the kids, I think it's not giving them too much information. Like I say, don't overcoach. That's what I would say, because I do think, and it's and everybody's different. So I'm not saying one's right and what's wrong, because everybody is different. But for me, I think if you have kids standing around for long periods of time and giving them so much information or shouting and bawling, I personally don't agree with that. And I think it's better to set them off, let them make the mistakes, and then pull them up on it eventually. But ask them really what they and to be honest, they do. Where do you think you would go? Where would be better there? And that's how I've tried to do it. Whether that's right, whether that's wrong, that's just how I feel.
Look, I think it's one of the reasons I was looking forward to this conversation is obviously a lot of the people I've sat with have had a very similar coaching background to me, and we've had very different coaching backgrounds, haven't we? And look, you've experienced it, you've lived it, you've played, and then you've gone into management, and then you're learning that bit. I've gone through a much more formal coaching, but which, by the way, they're two different ways of doing it. But that point couldn't be more similar in that, you know, and that's why I'm glad that point came out. Is I think all the time it's we can get too bogged down in the detail. And especially if you go on courses and you go on structured coaching and things.
But I think they are good for you as well.
Of course they are, and you need to learn some of that detail because it's key. But then I think it can blur the lines because people think, right, now I've got all this detail and all this information, I need to regurgitate that onto the players, the kids, the whoever. It's like, well, yeah, but they can still only take so much on. It doesn't matter, I don't care how good they are, I don't care what age, I don't care what level, you can only take on the same as in a classroom. The reason it's split up into having a maths lesson and then an English lesson and then a history lesson is you can't just learn it all at once. And so that's why when we're coaching, I'll come out onto the pitch at times and work with, you know, a random under 8s coach. I say, right, what are we working on tonight? He says, oh, well, passing and moving and shooting and defending. You go, right, okay, this might be a bit too much info. Well, actually, just work on one of them. Really narrow it down. And just let the session do it and crack on. And then you only step in when you have to. And it's stepping in when you have to. And I think people get caught between one or the other. People either go, let the game be the teacher, which, well, no, that can't work because you need to give some info.
You have to actually,
or
you can't just stand.
People just throw the coaching book at them and give them an inordinate amount of information. And you go, well, hang on, that's clearly way too much as well. But obviously it's a spectrum, isn't it? I need to fall somewhere on there. And some sessions I might need to go further on the information. Some sessions I might need to go further
also
on the
depends on
teacher.
what the group you've got as well.
But that thing around not giving too much info is key. I mean, you know, I'm looking outside now and we'll both know exactly who we're going to talk about. There are some coaches at this club and they're good coaches and they're good people, but they will talk and talk and talk. And you think, well, ultimately, how is the player going to learn this? Is it by being put in that environment, or is it by being told what that environment looks like? Well, it's by put in the environment.
Exactly.
Stop telling them it.
I agree with that.
Quick info, bang, move on. And you know, but that's prevalent on both, isn't it? That's the kids, but even the adults. It's sometimes you're going to have to do a bit of shadow work or a bit of shape work, and sometimes it will be really repetitive. But 9 times out of 10, you want to put them in the, right, opposition will play like this, we're going to play like this, set it up, right, go and do it. Now, okay, you're not just going to say figure it out, because ultimately you're going to tell them roughly what to do, but I think that's a huge point. And so how have you kind of came to that conclusion yourself then, Michael, around, is that because that's what you liked when you were playing? Is that just, well, no, this just makes sense, I've watched other people doing it and I don't like it? Is it a bit of, that's the feedback I've got? How have you kind of came to that thought process?
If I'm honest, a lot of it come from you. When
right, fair.
When I'm not just
prepped
saying
that, by the way.
I'm not just saying that.
Prepped that
because when I first come into junior coaching, I hadn't done any junior coaching until obviously the team got set, and I think it was the first time you, and I think Harrison used to come to your sessions that you used to do after school and things like that.
Yeah.
And you sat in the morning clubs.
Right, yeah.
And I just used to watch how you, obviously how old they were, everybody had a ball, they had loads of touches, and it brought him on so much, his close control, and so when I took over the team, which I wasn't supposed to, but nobody else was going to do it.
The story of grassroots football, yeah.
So that's how I started, and it just grew from there. That I never really give them much information. I let them, especially 7 and 8, you just let them play. They don't have a specific position. They just you move them round, because I think they don't really find the positions until they're probably like now 11, 12, 13, and even then they could change in a couple of years. But I think when they're that young, you've just got to give them a ball and find their own way at times, because sometimes they don't actually know what they're doing at school, never mind when they've got a ball in front of them. So that's what it was, and I used to come to your Saturday morning sessions, and I used to watch that, and when I used to take the sessions on a Tuesday or Thursday, whatever it was, I'd incorporate some of them Saturday morning sessions into it, and it seemed to work. It seemed to be successful, so I've just carried on like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's good to hear for me. I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit of books, but no, I think, and what you're saying there is, you know, about positions and they'll find their own way. I mean, that probably couldn't be more evident from Harrison.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that I was watching Harrison and he was playing up front and he was tearing it up, and then I remember you came to me. I probably hadn't seen him in 6 months, probably, and you came and said, "Oh, by the way, Harrison's a centre back now." Yeah, I was like, "What?" Harrison scores goals. That's what he does. And he went, no, you want to see him at the back, like he's unbelievable. And then I speak to him and he's like, oh, I'm doing a bit of this and I'm doing a bit of this. And it's
I still don't think he's found his position.
Yeah.
Because he plays a year above and he plays right back and left back. So he plays centre back for me and right back and left back. And then he plays centre back for the district. So he's, again, kids still find the feet as it goes through, you know.
And what I think is fascinating there, and something I talk about all the time, certainly to grassroots coaches, is, and this is where I can speak to you and you can kind of feedback on whether I'm right or not, is I think, right, at those junior ages, and okay, it'll change a little bit as they progress into like the YDP and they get like 15, 16, but the really young ones is, right, can we just make them a footballer? Can he be good with the ball? Can she be good with the ball? Can he understand the game to a point? Can they move it? Can they receive it? And are they physically capable? And if they tick all those boxes, I think, well, my job as a grassroots coach is to get him to like 18, to develop his potential on the ball as much as I can, with some game understanding. Yeah. And then I go to you as the first team gaffer and say, there he is, he's a good footballer. He doesn't understand the game as much as I'd like him to. Yeah. I look at it as a coach and go, well, that's your job as the manager, or your coaching staff's job. Because what I can't do is come to you with a player and go, tell you what, he knows exactly where to go. He knows when to run. He knows when to do it. And you go, well, what's he like? And I go, oh, no, he can't touch it. Like, if the ball comes, it'll bounce off him.
Yeah, and that's exactly...
You can't do it, can you?
What we're doing at the minute with our 18s, and obviously like Jacob as well, they're going they're coming with us at step 3, but they need to go and learn the trade at a slightly lower level, Northern League or even step 4 if we could get them there, and they've got to go and play and learn where to run, you know, where to receive a ball, different types of games, playing against different physical teams, and they've got to learn that, and they'll only learn that by playing at a good standard, you know. And but like you say, when they're younger, I don't think it's really that important, because I think they just want to play football, you know, and the majority of them just want to score goals, like you say, like Harrison used to, and then all of a sudden he went for a district trial and they put him in defence, and he's just played there ever since.
Yeah, and flourished. To be fair, he's done really well.
He's done really well. So, yeah, like I say, but I think they're just quite happy playing football at the minute at that age.
Yeah. But that's when they can hone their skill with the ball. Isn't it? They have to connect with the ball, because like you say, if you're loaning those players out at 18, well, if you can't deal with the ball, it's irrelevant. Yeah, it's like, you're not going to teach a 19-year-old to deal with the ball.
That's what I say to the kids. We do sometimes do sessions where they're receiving the ball on the back foot and they're turning out, and then there's other times where I say to, like, we've got some really good wide players, and it's like, go and run with the ball. You know, I don't want everybody to just pass. We don't want to be like just 1 and 2 touch. You want to go and express yourself, and I think sometimes that's missed, and people get wrapped up in a bit of possession football where, and I think sometimes it takes the fun out of the game with the kids when you're just trying to do that and play possession. You want wingers, you want people to run at people, you know, and I think it's sometimes a little bit missed that.
Even at your level at step 3, and you know, you're not going to say who your best player is, because you can't, and you wouldn't, and I wouldn't expect you to, but I know the fans' favourite is. It's the one who gets the ball and runs with it. That's who everyone wants to see. And if he's not playing, people want to know why. And if he is playing, people want to. Now, okay, you'll utilise him in whatever way, and you'll utilise the others. But that's the fans' favourite. So if we're taking that out of him at 8, well, then we're not getting the fans' favourite. And I remember I was delivering a course. It was a few years ago. I think it was the old youth mod 2 or something. And a coach said to me, because he was saying, I've got a player who won't pass. I was like, right, okay, tell me more. And he said, so he's won player's player, he's won most improved player, he's top scorer, and he won something else. I think they'd won the league or something. But he won't pass, and I don't know how to fix him. So I've written out on the board. I said, right, player's player, most improved player, top scorer, won the league. I said, what am I fixing? But he won't pass. I went, just read that again. He's absolutely demolishing the league. Why would you take that away? But Barcelona pass the ball. Yeah, they do, They also have the little one who runs off and does
exactly.
Like, that's ultimately where it is, isn't it? And you see that more. So linking that in then with your management side, so what are you looking for? So grassroots coaches watching, they're working with a team. Okay, under 7s, are we thinking, I want to get them into a first team? Hopefully not. But that's the long-term vision. So as the gaffer deciding who gets signed, and okay, it's slightly different, position dependent and stuff, what are you looking at as an 18-year-old? What skill set do they need to have that we as grassroots coaches and junior coaches need to be developing I need them to have these traits, these capabilities. And if they don't have these, none of it matters.
I think it's different the higher you go, because like some of the players that maybe coming out 18 or not even 18 who are actually coming and training, they're not physically developed, but that I'm not saying that they're not good enough. Pace helps, you know, especially at our level. I think they've got to be confident, you know. I think some of them are a little bit in the shell, you know, they're not, especially when they're on even when they play under 18s football. I think they're still a little bit too quiet. But obviously you'd like them to be more physical, but they'll get that the more they train and as they get older and the body develops. So you want them to be confident, you want them to want the ball, you want them to get on the ball and express themselves when they do come into training. And I think the group we've got now who are coming up, they do that. I think they're really promising who's coming up, and you can see they're actually benefiting from training with the first team, and they're starting to, because it's quicker, they're starting to move the ball quicker, and once they've played it, then they've moved again, where sometimes when you come to watch some under 18s, they'll play it and they'll stand, you know, so you'll want them to be on the move and want to go and get the ball again and encourage each other and just be nice and positive when they come, you know, and if they're good enough, they'll play, and we've proven that this season. But for what we're looking for is, you know, it also depends on what position it is. You know, if it's a forward, you know, we've got Dan Dryden who's out and he scores goals. He's big, he's strong, he can hold it up, he can go the other way. Ideally, you want someone like that who does everything. You know, but it's just about getting them into our environment quite quickly, especially the ones who were playing well week in, week out for the 18s. And that's no disrespect to the ones who haven't come with us. And if they are doing well, get them in as quickly as possible and then get them into a men's environment. And if they aren't quite ready for ours, can we get them registered, like I say, on a dual registration at another men's team? But ideally, we just want looking for them to come through and be confident and not be shy, which sometimes they do tend to be.
Yeah.
And just believe in themselves, really.
So that mentality side's quite a big jump.
They're coming to us because they're good enough to come and train with us. So take your chance, you know. Don't let that pass you by, really. Yeah. And just embrace it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm conscious of time and we need to touch on the final takeaway point. But there's one element I'm curious about, because you're the first person I've spoken to that I can ask, really. Obviously, the vast majority of people coaching grassroots teams have a dual role. They're a coach and they're a parent. The vast majority, it will be, if it's not 90%, I'll be surprised. It must be up there. I've not experienced that yet. My son's 6. He's just started joining a team. I'm not coaching that team. And as long as I can avoid that, I'm going to. Yeah. But obviously, you straddle both as, you know, Harrison's dad and his coach and the coach of the team. How do you kind of find that? And is there anything you do to counteract it? Because in my old job, when I used to go into clubs and work with groups, it was amazing. I used to go in for a 6-week spell, and it was right. I kind of work with this coach and try and help them along their coaching journey, the mod 1 or whatever. And I'd say, right, what do you want me to work on? It was always passing. I was like, right, okay, I'm not going to do that, but okay. And then I'd say, any problems in the group? And the answer was the same. I must have worked with 1,000 coaches. The answer was always the same. No, they're a good group. That one's a bit lively. Which one? Oh, my son. Yeah. It was always the same. Now, I don't think you'd that. I don't. No. But it'd be in the back of your mind somewhere, but I don't think you would. I know your group. But that always showed to me that it must be a really difficult dynamic. Because when I worked with a group, I'd go, by the way, you know your son? He's not the lively one. Yeah. But you think he is because you're focused. So what do you think as someone who's doing it? How do you do that?
I tend to treat him the same as the rest of them. But because he's my son, I think sometimes he thinks he can speak to me in a different way to what the rest of the players do. And as he's got older, that's tended to slip in a little bit more. But because I have another coach with me, Michael, the other Michael, and his son plays. So what we've decided to do is I speak to his son and he speaks to my son if we have any issues. And that seemed to work quite well. But coaching Harrison is not, I think sometimes because it's coming from me, he sometimes takes it the wrong way, as if I'm having a go at him. When I'm not, I'm trying to help him. And it sometimes does become a little bit difficult, not on there, but when we get back in the car, you know, we have a... And as he's getting older, he's starting to have his own opinions as well, because he is a good player, and he does read the game well, and he's quite ahead of himself and his knowledge for the game as well. So he'll sometimes get frustrated, but it's not too bad. He does well, and he's always I think he's always wanting to impress me. Obviously, I'm his dad, so he's going to want to impress me. Michael made him the captain, other Michael, not me, and that wasn't my decision, but it seems to have settled him as well, because he's a good leader. But no, I know my wife has said, well, I think you should go somewhere else where you're not coaching, and I go, why? Because I think it'll be better if he gets coached with someone else. I said, what are you trying to say? But no, to be honest, we very rarely have any,
do you do anything to avoid that bit in the car? Because that's the bit I'm always really interested in. So, with my old job hat on, we talked about once you get in the car, try not to discuss.
Oh, I'm not saying I'll say.
But that's easy for me to say that.
I'll say to him, if he thinks I was having a go at him, I would say I wasn't having a go at you there, son. I was trying to explain.
So you'll talk process,
and then he'll listen. But I think it's when he's got a little bit of an audience, you know, and he thinks. But when we're together, he will listen, and it's not a slanging match or shouting match or anything like that. And most of the time, I'm positive with him anyway. I'm not. I try to be like that all the time. I'm not negative. So no, he's fine. It seems to work. It seems to work well. Like I say, I just think he gets just a little bit frustrated at times. He doesn't. He put it this way: he trains with the under-13s after for an hour, and he doesn't say a word.
So I think it's interesting. So you've said a couple of bits there that are good. That I think are good takeaways. Of one, trying to treat him
the same. Yeah.
But I think I've seen some coaches take that to the extreme, and you think, right, you do have to acknowledge it, because otherwise it's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
And I've seen how you do it, and it is acknowledged, which I think is positive. And I think the buddy coaching thing of having another coach, that just takes some of the stress and strain away. Because I think sometimes coaches feel a bit burdened by it in front of other parents. Now I know your character type, you're probably not thinking about other parents' thoughts, but I know a lot do, and they get conscious of how they deal with their kid because they think of other people watching. Yeah. So I think they're good things, but I also think there's an element of it's just really difficult at times, and it will be, and that's just kind of a nature of the beast a little bit.
And I think it's just because they know you that well. And I think they probably know how to push your buttons as well, and that's just children for you, your own children. Absolutely. Anyway.
But look, to kind of move things along, and again conscious of that time element. The first takeaway was that fun and enjoyment. Second takeaway around not overcomplicating it and kind of keeping it a little bit simpler. What's your third and final takeaway for the grassroots coaches?
I think for me is try to encourage quite a lot, or to try, especially when somebody does something well, enhance that they've done well, or try not to be too negative. I try not to be negative with the first. We try to be as positive as we can. Even sometimes when we've lost, I think I've learned from when I was player assistant manager at Billingham Town. So I used to play, like say, the first half, and then I'd come in at half time and I'd scream and shout. And I used to think that was the way, because when I played non-league, or even when I was at Hartlepool, a lot of managers or coaches you had, that's how it used to be. And that's just how it was back then. But everybody's different. Not everybody takes well to a bollocking as such, and especially the kids. We play against some teams on a Sunday, and not mentioning any names. Some of the things that you hear, and I don't know how children or even parents deal with that, because I would never do that with the kids. I think you've got to try and encourage. You're going to lose games as kids as well as adults, but adults is a little bit different, especially with the level we're playing at now. But in kids football, you want to win games, and now they've got a league table, so they haven't had a league. This is the first year we've had a league table, so it's a little bit different. You can see where I think the top two go up, and I think we're third, and it's starting to get like that. But they've got to learn to lose as well. But I think trying to encourage all the time, even when you lose or concede a goal, you've got to try and get them going again. And like I say, in training, if they do something good, or there's good patterns of play, or somebody scores a good goal, or even someone misplaces a pass, it's like, keep the next one, just try and encourage, and not be too hard on them, and it's the same with the first team, there's periods when in my management where I have actually lost it, and I don't tend to do that now. It's very rare. I think as you get older, or the more you've been involved, you realise that not many people react well to that anymore. They tend to go the other way. I do still have moments where you raise your voice a bit, or something's not going right, or you think somebody's taking the mick or something like that, so you do then have a little bit of a go. But no, the majority of the time I try to encourage a lot and be really positive with them, and that's what I would, if anybody takes anything from this, is just enjoy it, and try to encourage as much as you can, because you'll get the best out of players when they're enjoying it, and when they're being encouraged by yourself. Yeah,
and I think look, Michael, I think a lot of people will take a lot of things from the conversation in general, but that point, it makes me think. I was at an event once, and I cannot remember. It's bugging me because I cannot remember the nationality of the coach. But something he was talking about, it was like an All England thing, and they were talking about where they were from. I think it was Dutch, and he was saying culturally he thinks it's different here to there. Now whether it is or not, I don't know. This is just what the guy was saying, and he said he found in Dutch football, it was they want to look at what you're good at, and they want to excel it and exacerbate it.
And that's what I was trying to say.
Whereas here. No, and I don't know if it's a broad statement. So I don't think it's just English football. But what is certainly a thing is because especially as coaches, we sometimes think, well, we need to correct everything. Well, if we need to correct everything, what happens is we then instantly go to the negative because you can only correct the negative. You can't correct something. So you're dead right in that. Well, someone takes 3 touches, beats a player, and slaps it in the top corner. It was a 2-touch drill. That doesn't count. You think, you should put the ball in the top corner. It's just done brilliantly. We're allowed to praise. Okay, it doesn't match the drill.
I'd say that was excellent. Absolutely brilliant. But unfortunately,
there's a rule that's
still brilliant.
But it's good football, and the encouragement is massive. And encouragement and praise has to be specific because take your team for example, or anyone watching, you will have a player that is excellent at doing something, and someone who struggles. Well, he deserves praise if he's successful at it. He maybe doesn't. He deserves praise if he excels at it. And that's where, because they want, especially as juniors, they're desperate for praise, desperate for encouragement, desperate for praise.
And you can see on the faces.
So if it's non-stop praise, it becomes background noise. But if it's about the development aspect, and well, you get praise because that was brilliant for you. I think that's a big message, isn't it? Around it can be for different people, and probably the same in adult football, really. Someone's struggling, they get the praise first, don't they?
It's like a goal scorer if he's going at, or you're in training, he's had a bit of a balance and he does something well in training. He's got you praise them overboard with it, and like you can see straight away, chests out, and the next time they get to try to do the same thing. But then not be too harsh when they have missed. Otherwise, the heads are down and you don't get a positive vibe from them.
And that, you're someone who's managing at a high level. So if you're saying that with the first team, surely people are thinking that for the juniors. So look, I'll round it off, mate. I think the first point around enjoying it, making sure it's enjoyable, making sure it's engagement. Second point, not overloading, and third point, that encouragement aspect. I think three great points for anyone to take, and you can see the synergy between the three as well. There's a line there, and the fact that we've talked about juniors and adults, and all three probably apply to both
they do,
as well,
definitely,
which is great.
definitely.
So look, mate, rather than taking up your entire night, which I appreciate, we could probably spend the rest of the night talking about. To be fair, no, really appreciate your time. Thanks for the conversation.
No problem at all. No problem. Cheers, Liam. Thanks.